think that would
was
be.
raised there. He was raised there, and this is something that's often overlooked: is that he grew the first approximately 18 years of his life in a nation whose history over that course of time was not exactly pleasant.
No,
So he's steeped and drenched in this cultural kind of environment where he thinks, oh, that's the norm and that's what I should be cheering on because it's what I know. Well, what you know, Mr. Piker, is nonsense. And frankly, we should not have to deal with it, nor should anyone
and
who's got an ounce of humanity in their body or their
and
soul.
and Turkey, folks, just to let everyone know, it's a toss-up between Turkey and Israel, the most peaceful and prosperous states in the Middle East. And they're both in the middle of civil wars. Israel, of course, with the Palestinians, and Turkey in an endless civil war with the Kurdish people in the south and the east of the country. But the point is, that would be a fantastic compromise, Byron. Let's not arrest Hasan. Let's deport him.
Right.
#deport Hasan.
In regards to the whole looking into his comment there from Yeats, there's an acceptable asymmetry of in speech as well as in violence. He does not seem to recognize how much of a nitwit he is for saying that, because according to you, your side's line of acceptable political violence has been pushed to the point of someone getting broadly, publicly executed, assassinated.
Yep.
And you think that that's your line of acceptability. Well, I'm sorry, we've already been dealing with your acceptable asymmetry in terms of speech since 2014, when anyone to the right of Chairman Mao has been booted off of every social media platform, debanked, depersoned, unpersoned, shunted out of polite society in every way, shape, and form possible. And when it was pointed out to you and yours that you have been being very ham-fisted about this and said, cancel culture is a cancer, he and his have said it's not cancel culture, it's consequence culture. Well, the consequences for Mr. Piker's culture should be a pair of shiny bracelets around each hand.
#deport Hasan. Now we're going to get Slay, Legion, and Rhoda's perspective, and then we're going to.
If I may, just real fast.
Of course,
it's mighty funny. They believe in cancel culture if it's them doing the canceling, but they can't handle it if it's the other way around. That's what I wanted to say.
Exactly, and that's the thing you got to understand about the left. It won't end until they're gone. Slay, what do you make of this whole situation?
Well, I like that so many people are validly pointing out that this isn't cancel culture, it's consequence culture, because Hasan is the kind of person who's only faced the quote-unquote consequences of one-day Twitch bans on his day off, and that's not enough anymore. I was, planning on saying that Kash Patel should just go ahead and investigate him and Dan Clancy and Twitch, and then literally like a half hour after that, I got the notification that is going to happen. So I was like, wow, maybe I willed that into existence.
Oh, yeah. I reanimated Joseph McCarthy from the dead, Slay. I just put him in an Indian by mistake. But it just goes to show, though, that these investigations are going to take place on a federal basis to the likes of Twitch, Discord, and Reddit. And there are going to be a lot of instances of investigations, and I think deservedly so. It's about time the far left have as much transparency as the far right politically. Because in a civilized society, there should be no place for political extremism. There should be no place for religious extremism either. So anything more to add, Slay, or should we move on to allegiance?
I was going to say, I mean, charge them, arrest them, yes. But do I think he should
Deport.
go to jail? No, because he probably enjoy it too much. It'll remind him of all the Diddy parties when he becomes someone's prison bitch, especially if
Wow.
commissary has lots of baby oil on hand.
Wow, this is going to be like in the first 4 minutes of a Second Network video. So you're going to get a lot of flack for saying that, Slay. Legion, what do you make of this whole situation?
So I actually so this is going to be I 100% support free speech. The problem is though is that you lose your freedom of speech when you have specifics and examples which he continuously goes to. It's like, it's like if I want to say that if I want to say Donald Trump can fuck off and he's the worst president ever, and quite frankly, we need to throw his ass out, that's fine. That's freedom of speech. When you go into detail like Hasan has, and this is something similar to what he said, and I'm not going to say everything because we're on YouTube, that you need to drag people out into the street and you need to spill the water of life from their arms into the street. That's a specific thing you're calling for to happen. That is not freedom of speech. That is a call to violence.
Correct.
You lose your freedom of speech when you call for violence specifically in a way. It's like, yeah, if you want to say,
absolutely, yeah,
if you want to say I'm gonna punch a Nazi, like, okay. Like, also at the same time, these people don't know what a damn Nazi is. Nazism is National Socialism. Yes, in Germany of politics of the time and era, it was considered right wing.
Mm-hmm.
In today's modern world, that is not even close to what it is. It is left wing. It is far leftism because, again, they believed in transgenderism at the time. They believed in women basically doing whatever they wanted and throwing their bodies to the wind and having all the. There were posters for this before they came into power. I'm not joking. And so then they had the brown shirts that used to drag people into the streets. Where have we heard this? Antifa, yeah, anti-fascist, my ass. Drag people into the streets and just beat them up. Like this is goes hand in hand in hand of National Socialism, fascism, socialism,
yeah.
communism, all of it. It all goes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but
left.
Wasn't Adolf part of a socialist party?
Yeah, well, he was actually he had left wing politics before he was ever he started National Socialism. So he yes, he was he was not even really the founder of National Socialism. He just became he became the prominent speaker, and he rose to power through it because he was such a good speaker, but he was also so angry. This is no different than these losers like Hasan who are on Twitch. And no, sorry, dude, you don't have freedom of speech on Twitch. And if you get your ass kicked the hell off, sorry, clown, have a good day. No.
Hasan, you're not a gamer girl. You don't have freedom of speech on Twitch. Only gamer girls have freedom of speech on Twitch.
Yeah, so it's like history has an ugly way of repeating itself because, again, children don't learn what the real meanings of these words are because their teachers are just as indoctrinated by this crap. And freedom, capitalism, and free, the freedom of a constitutional republic is what has actually stopped over and over and over again these horrible things around the world. And it's the only way. It's not the most perfect system ever, but it's the only system we have that actually works as good as it does. And this kind of stuff, like when you call for actual literal violence and you are specifying it, no, you need to be investigated. I'm not saying you're going to get arrested. I'm not saying you're going to go to jail, but you need to be investigated because you have called for it for the last decade, all these people, and you're ramping it up more and more and more and more. So, because somebody said what at one time before it happened that Donald Trump 86-47. What the hell does that mean? You know what that means? Like, come on, man. Like, we're not stupid here. We're not school children.
Last order for the president, please. Basically.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's like I'm so tired of it. And then they play stupid, and it's like you're not stupid. You know what you're doing. You just don't want to be on the other end of it because you know what? You went from being a nobody to then you were a superstar and you want to hold on to it and you want to vilify everybody else that disagrees with you because you think this utopia exists that doesn't. Because quite frankly, if you get the utopia that you supposedly want, guess what happened to the brown shirts? They got taken in the street once they were done with them. How do you think that ended? Ask the Jews because they were the next one to go into the streets.
Hello, doggy. Well,
Sorry,
thank you for
it's
that.
very
No,
intense.
it's all
It's
right.
a very intense discussion.
No, it's perfectly fine, and it just goes to show back then, folks, 80, 90 years ago, European politics, the way Europeans determined politics was the dominant force, and today, since the world superpower is the United States, of course, we have to look at the political system from a more American perspective. But of course, stubborn Europeans don't abide by that. They still abide by the French principle of all the rebels sit on the left and all the royalists sit on the right. That's why we had a left wing and a right wing from the French Revolution. But what about you, Roder? Putting the cherry on top of this topic, what do you make of this whole situation?
Well, living as I do in a country where people are quite often arrested for virtually innocuous tweets, the double standards absolutely appalls me. So I think he needs to be arrested and investigated. I've seen too many citizen journalists who are just literally reporting and giving their opinion on the news be thrown into a prison cell and have their channels taken away, have their livelihoods taken away, just for opinions that I wouldn't even consider that controversial. So for somebody to actually incite in the way that Hasan is to just be able to get away from it because he makes a rich man more money, I think is disgusting, and he needs to be put in front of a jury and most likely locked up for a very, very long time.
And deported because he...
Oh, yeah, deported, that works. Oh, if he went back to Turkey, he'd be nicked straight away.
Hashtag deport Hasan. And I think that is the perfect bow on this topic, as well as the doggies fighting over... Is that a bone or... What is that? What is that?
It's a stuffed chicken. They've already torn out its eyes, its beak, its wings, and its feet. The only thing that's left of it is a torso.
Well, to fully embody what Aussie Elijah just said, Black Lives Matter. Okay.
I was going to ask if they've been listening to Hasan Piker's podcast lately before doing that.
Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen,
noise polluters, closing